From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 339. Today's show is brought to you by PDF Pen from Smile, Storyworth, and Privacy. My name is Myke Hurley. I'm joined by Federico Vitici. Hi, Federico.
Hello, Myke. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. No Steven this week.
Just the two of us.
But he couldn't depart the connected heads, I guess, is the name of our listeners, I suppose. Did we ever come up with anything? I don't think so. The connected audience couldn't leave them high and dry, so you will be hearing from Steven in a couple of parts today. Basically, the ads. He gave me all the ads, which was very nice of him to do. So I'd have less work to do because obviously I'll be picking up the edit today. So if you find any mistakes in today's edit, just send feedback to Steven.
Yes,
say this is what happens.
Look,
when
Steven told me weeks ago. He told me, Federico, I gotta tell you something. Like this was a private conversation. He said, I really love getting feedback emails. Like he told me that.
But the thing is, though, I actually think that's true. I think that's really genuinely true. That he likes getting feedback over email.
We're feeding into this theory that Steven loves feedback, and now everybody thinks it's true. So. Yeah, but like he told me, it's like I secretly love getting feedback emails from people. I was like, really? I was like, yeah. It's like I love archiving them, organizing them in mailboxes, different folders and tags, and all the things that Steven does.
He has a rating system that he gives.
Some of them go into Devon Think
4-star feedback.
Yeah.
I think if you want to contact Steven, you can go to relay.fm/connected, and there is a button you can tap for sending an email, and it will send it directly to him. I remember this was a conversation I think that we had very early on, because we have those links on some of the show pages. It's up to the host if they want to put an email address on there. And I said to Steven, for this show, I think you can put it on there if you want to, but I don't want to get that email because I don't like email for feedback over email. I like feedback in other places. I like it on Twitter. I like it in Discord. My email inbox is just full of just nightmare most of the time. I really don't want to have more in there. This is actually a thing in my actual marriage, my real relationship. I don't know why I said it like that. Actual marriage? That was a strange way of putting it.
An actual marriage.
Not my marriage with Steven, my other one. Where Adina will suggest things to me or she'll want to send me an email and I'm like, don't do it. Don't you dare. Like this is a thing that we have where she's not allowed to send me things over email because I don't want more email than all the email I currently get. It's like if you have something you want to send to me, send it to me over iMessage. That's perfect. And then I can deal with it. I don't want email. I get so much email. I don't want more email.
Interesting. So you forbid her from sending you email?
I don't like it the way you say it like that.
But like you said in a very so let's say you've said in a very polite way, please don't send me any more email.
Correct.
It's funny because I actually prefer the opposite with Sylvia.
You just no texts, only emails.
Please, I'm like, please send me emails because then I know that because I don't know, I'm a very bad person when it comes to keeping up with texts in general. I don't know, I feel more efficient in using my email with that. And so often she's like, I gotta send you a link, right? And I'm like, can you please send it over email? Because then I know that I will not lose it and that I can... Yeah. So this is why it's funny that we have the exact opposite approach.
Just like, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight? Just email me. I can't even think
it's
about
not always like it's not always like that. And it's really... So, I mean, we're already going off topic here.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. So what... Do you only use iMessage with Adina?
Or Instagram messages. Okay. Like if we see something on Instagram, we'll send that to each other.
Right.
I think that's the only social network that we share, like that we both visit, because she doesn't really tweet and I don't go on Facebook very much. I don't go on Facebook. This isn't like one of those big statements. I have a Facebook account. I just, I don't want, there's nothing on there for me. So like, I don't even, I realized recently, I was like, oh, I haven't checked Facebook in like forever. And I tapped it and I was logged out, which made me realize for as long as I've had my iPhone 12, I have never logged into the Facebook app, and I'm fine with that.
I had a similar problem recently. I was talking to my mom on the phone. She was like, "Oh, by the way, did you see, that photo that I posted yesterday on Facebook? That was not about you." And I was like, "Wait, what?" It's like, first of all.
What kind of way is that to start a conversation?
Well, the bigger problem here. So first of all, Mom, I haven't logged into Facebook in like a month, and I have no idea what you're talking about. Second, why are you saying this to me in a way that makes it sound like you've done something that I should be aware of?
Well, it also makes it sound like it's definitely about you, right?
The thing is, about you. I then discovered that my mom has become one of those people who posts I don't know how to describe them, but like on Facebook, I guess there's a way to create a picture that contains text.
Yeah.
And people do that sometimes, especially boomers, I think. They do that to post like passive-aggressive messages about other people.
Yeah, you basically create very like low-rate memes, right?
Yeah, I guess it's funny. I guess it's funny.
Very bad.
And my mom has become one of those people, right? So that's the bigger problem at hand here.
That's the real issue. We've gone off the rails from going off the rails. This started by you asking me if it's the only... Okay, we're going to get back to that?
Getting back to that.
Anyway,
so my mom does that, and I was like... Then I checked out that picture. There was like a bunch of comments under... It's just like a whole thing, and I logged out of Facebook and whatever.
Yep.
In any case, you don't use WhatsApp, right?
To the annoyance of basically everyone in my life, I do not use WhatsApp.
Okay. Because what I have found to be really beneficial in my having conversations with my with my girlfriend of 14 years. You would think that I gotten better at this over time, but nope. Is sending each other audio messages, right?
I saw you write about this somewhere, yes, and I made a note about it because I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yes, and the thing is, it surprised me because like when I talked about this feature with John, it was like, nope, I've never sent one. So I kind of want to understand is sending audio messages popular among WhatsApp users only?
I think so.
Or European users only? And I guess WhatsApp is more popular in Europe than America.
Yeah, no, I know people that do the audio message thing.
It's really convenient, right? Because you can, like, in 30 seconds, first of all, you don't have to type. And I hate typing long messages on my phone. Second, you can use your voice. And so you can convey more of the tone that you want to use in whatever you're saying. But it doesn't have the pressure of a phone call, which I hate doing. And I've talked about this plenty of times here on the show before.
It's basically your own personal Clubhouse environment.
I guess if I were to explain this to Americans, yes, imagine if Clubhouse was only for you, and then you sent the Clubhouse to another person.
And I need to jump in before we get all the feedback, which will... Well, actually, the feedback will just go to Stephen this week via email, so it's fine.
Because he loves it.
We know, he just adores it. We know that you can send audio messages in iMessage. The point is...
I was getting to that, and I was getting to that.
It seems like nobody does.
Nobody does, and you know why? Because the UI is horrible in iMessage for that. It's so stupid. Like, I think it's the kind of feature that somebody saw once. Like, I was on a trip to Europe this summer, and I saw a bunch of folks use audio messages. We gotta copy this feature. Like, I don't know, I guess at some point a couple of years ago, Craig Federighi went to the Amalfi Coast and saw somebody send an audio message and came back and was like, guys, we have to build audio messaging into iMessage. Do it. Copy the feature. And somebody did, but it's like a bad copy of the WhatsApp version. Holding down the button is weird, but what's even stranger is listening back to the audio message in the Messages app. The play button, sometimes it just doesn't work, and it's super tiny. There's no progress bar. There's like a weird small waveform instead, which has no purpose whatsoever. And most of the time, you gotta raise your phone to your ear to listen to the audio message.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why have you done it this way? So, why are we talking about this, Myke?
We're still in the how to send feedback portion of the show.
Cool.
I did just want to, before we finish, the my lack of usage of WhatsApp is a bone of contention amongst my friends in the UK and my family, because everyone talks about the fact, they will reference it to me every now and then, of like, oh, I only use iMessage with you. So like I have a WhatsApp group with my younger brother and his wife and me and Adina. And then we have a all family group, right? That's in WhatsApp. But outside of that, I do not use it. Just because, I mean, for me, really, one of the main reasons that I use it and not iMessage, and why, like, I've never tried to convince any of my American friends this is where they need to message me, is the user interface of WhatsApp just upsets me so much. It's one of the ugliest apps on my iPhone that somehow they've never done anything with. I really hate the look of WhatsApp.
It's not good, but I don't like it, but it feels faster to use than iMessage.
I can see that.
It's a bunch of things. It's a bunch of tiny things, right? We're talking about, I guess, millisecond delays here. But like the way that in WhatsApp you can swipe on a message to reply to that message versus the double tapping and choosing reply in iMessage, the WhatsApp version is ever so slightly faster. That, you know, it's a bunch. WhatsApp is ugly, but it's got a bunch of those things that make conversations go by really easily. Whereas in iMessage, if you want to have a conversation in a group with a lot of back and forth between people, I mean, let's not even mention the threaded UI that they have done.
I like that it exists, but the UI is so bad.
Those lines, man.
That's so bad. Woo! That's whenever I see them, that's what I think. You know, when they like spin around.
When it gets the knot, when it does the little knot.
That's what I'm saying. That sound, it's like,
you know that it's getting serious when you get the knot.
Yeah.
You know that it's.
If more people use that feature, that would be a meme, right? Just like that image is like, things have gotten serious now.
You know, things are going off the rails on this thread because you get the little. Sometimes you get the double knot,
and then you just leave, just quit.
It's like
in Connected Pro today, we spoke about Firefox, and I have a point that I wanted to make there but forgot, and now I'll make it here, which I think is one of the things that's interesting about. I think it's the same for Firefox and it's the same for WhatsApp, and why they're maybe in some ways more interesting or in some ways better than, say, Safari or Messages, is if as a company all you do is that thing, you're going to optimize and adapt. Like, I'm sure Apple have a big team that work on Safari and a big team that work on Messages, but they don't have autonomy to do whatever they want, right? But even though WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, it doesn't matter. Like, WhatsApp seems to be its own little thing, and then obviously Firefox is its own thing from Mozilla. Like, they can just focus the product and make it better in the ways that make it the best thing for itself, rather than Apple, whoever works on Messages, whoever works on Safari. I'm sure there's things they would love to do, but it doesn't meet in the overall scope or whatever, By the way, if you want to get Connected Pro, which has additional content, like, for example, if you want to understand why on earth we would spend 20 minutes talking about Firefox, there is a good reason for it. You can go to 123membership.com. And
wait, what?
I have that. I forgot I had that domain, and I found it today. 123membership.com, and you can sign up for Connected Pro. It's $5 a month or $50 a year, and you get longer episodes of Connected with no ads.
I can't believe nobody's talking about this link.
123membership.com.
It's perfect. It's beautiful.
I found it earlier today. I must have bought this ages ago.
I
have had it for ages, and I just found it.
Stumble upon a domain.
Whoops! This was the thing that we were talking about. I think this was on the live stream after the Pan Addict today. Is realizing I have 71 domain names. 71. Yeah, and like I own 2 troll domains for you. I own iosstories.net and storiesmac.com.
What's the second one?
I think it's Stories Mac or something like that is the domain.
Is it Stories of Mac?
No, it's not that one. Hang on, I need to sign in now so I can get it. Because the iOS Stories one, I registered in front of you in a bar, and then then for a long time that just went to my own website, but it goes to yours now because I was being less.
Thank you. You're so gracious.
Less of a terrible person. StoryMax. StoryMax.com. StoryMax.com. It's another domain.
You even got the plurals wrong. Okay.
Stories of Mac. StoryMax.com. I don't know why I have that one.
StoryMax.com goes to Mac Stories.
Yeah, so does iOSstories.net as well. I moved them both.
Nice. Thank you, Myke. I appreciate the gesture.
So now that we're finished with the how to send in feedback section, we will now hand it over to the Chief of Feedback, Stephen, for him to tell you about our first sponsor of this week's episode.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by TextExpander from our friends over at Smile. If you're feeling like you have too much to do and not enough time, if you're wondering how you can claw back some time but don't know where to start, TextExpander is your answer. It helps you work both faster and smarter, so you can focus your time on your most important work. With just a few keystrokes, TextExpander keeps you consistent, accurate, and efficient. With TextExpander, you can speed through emails in a fraction of the time, expand forms with fill-in-the-blank fields using quick abbreviations, and save serious time by storing and expanding phrases you type frequently. Get your messages right every time by expanding content that corrects your spelling and keeps your language consistent with just a few keystrokes. I've been using TextExpander, I think, since the beginning of time. It really feels like a long time now. I can't use my Mac without it. It is just built into everything I do. Fun current example is we have switched our recording to Zoom. And with Skype, you just open Skype and click your friends and start a call. But Zoom, you got to have a meeting. And so I have my Zoom invites for various meetings set in TextExpander. So I don't have to open Zoom and find the meeting and copy their crazy text. I can just type a few letters into iMessage or Slack or email and send somebody the right meeting invite very quickly. If you haven't tried TextExpander yet, you need to go check it out. There's no better time than now because Connected listeners get 20% off their first year by visiting textexpander.com/podcast. That's textexpander.com/podcast. Our thanks to TextExpander and Smile for their support of the show.
Should we do follow-up?
Let's do it.
So the shortcuts linking thing got fixed.
Yay. That was really nice to see. So we talked last week about how in an expected turn of events, following the release of iOS 14.5 Beta 5, or soon after that at least, all shortcuts links created before that new version of iOS suddenly disappeared from the internet. They stopped working. Everybody panicked. Some people thought, Federico jinxed it in the previous episode of Connected, where he said that Apple doesn't like the idea of shortcuts sharing. Is that the Connected curse? A bunch of people, were concerned about that. We covered this issue on the show last week. We had, before the show, reached out to Apple for a comment, and I said on the show that Apple hadn't gotten back to us yet. Surprisingly, that was really nice of them, actually. A few hours later, was actually my 5 a.m. and I was still up because I really wanted to finish Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I was like in the middle of this scene with Tifa and Cloud when suddenly I saw an email from Apple PR. And I'm realizing now how this sentence couldn't be any more teachy. And in Hey, I have Apple PR configured to like one of the few contacts that can send me push notifications. So anyway, that was the context. I get this email saying, with the statement that I shared on Twitter, saying that Apple was aware of the issue and they were working to bring back those links. They were restoring those links. And I went to sleep, very happy about that. And when I woke up the following morning, most of the links in the Mac Stories Shortcuts archive were back up, not all of them. And by the evening, all of the links on Mac Stories were restored. I saw a few people saying that they were also seeing partial rollouts, in the sense that some of their links were coming back, but some of them were not. And I believe that Matthew Cassinelli tweeted just a few minutes ago how all of the links on his website, at least, have been restored, and Apple also confirmed that the restoration process has been completed, and all of the old shortcuts links are now working again. So just out of curiosity, because I'm doing this live. I want to see if the old workflow links are also working again.
Do you have any feeling on? I know that I'm confident nobody's said anything to you, but do you have any feeling on what happened here? Do you think it was just an error, or do you think they're changing something and it's broken it?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
My theory is that they did something to the gallery. They were doing some work on the shortcut gallery because that also went down briefly last week. So I think something happened there. So let me just send this tab to my iPhone as a push notification. If you want to know why I'm doing this, again, go listen to Connected Pro. I got the page on my phone. So let's see, an old workflow link. I have an article from 2017 about workflow magic variables. I was so clever with the title, with the section titles in this article. One of them is called "It's a Kind of Magic." I'm a good blogger. I'm a good blogger.
So excited about their own work over here.
Yeah,
sure, there's a word for this.
Let's see. You can get the workflow here. It does not.
Did it work?
No.
Didn't flow.
So those workflow links are dead. Again, okay. I believe they were broken before too. I just wanted to double check and confirm. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense though, right? It feels like it's time for them to go away. Because
sure.
I guess if you created the original workflow, you could just create a shortcuts link now, right? Because they all moved over.
Right. I guess there's some of these workflows, like in this article from 2017, some of these workflows I don't have anymore on my device locally, and now I cannot download them from the old workflow.is URL either. But I mean, that's fine, right? We all knew this was going to happen eventually. It was nice enough of Apple to keep those workflow links working for a couple of years after they acquired workflow and it became shortcuts. So in any case, the good news is shortcuts links have been restored. So if a link was broken, check again. It should be working again.
Recently, I was complaining that Spotify doesn't have show notes for podcasts. And a couple of people wrote in, including Cameron, to tell me that it has been added. This is a recent thing, for sure. I know a few months ago, at least, I checked and they did not have this. But they have full show notes with links and everything there. So that's very good. I'm very pleased about that. Like, that is something that genuinely makes me very happy because of the effort that I put into them. So now do chapters. Now do chapter support, Spotify. That's what I would like next, please. Yeah. But
they have show notes, and you can tap on the links, and they open in your system browser. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pleased that they have that, but I would love to see them do chapters too. Yeah. And if they're also going to do chapters, I want chapter-specific artwork. Just go the whole way.
They got to do the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. On a side note, I saw an article that Spotify has bought a company that seems like it will give them the tools to make a Clubhouse competitor.
Right.
Which I think makes a lot of sense for Spotify, honestly.
Especially for I guess sports-related podcasts that they own.
They actually bought the company that they bought was a sports-focused live app. It's called Locker Room. Was the name of the application?
Okay, all right.
And it was built to be a kind of Clubhouse. I don't know exactly the timeline, how long that app had been around. It's been around for a while, I think, and that's what it was built for, to be like a live sports app. So, like for example, if you wanted to basically be a commentator of a sporting game, you could do that. Right. And I think it really got some traction with the NBA, like with basketball. I believe. So they've bought this company. They're going to keep this app around for a while, but they're going to rebrand it at some point. And it seems like their plans at first is to have it as a separate application. But, it makes a lot of sense that then once you've recorded your broadcast, it will go to your Anchor account and get turned into a podcast which goes on Spotify, right? Like, that just feels like that's the full stack that they would do if you wanted that. And why not connect all the pieces together? But I also found it funny. This was funny to me that kind of this week, I think, LinkedIn and Discord. Well, LinkedIn have announced they're making a Clubhouse competitor. Slack has reframed something they previously said they were going to do and calling it a Clubhouse competitor, which was, we spoke about this ages ago when Slack announced that they were doing stories. Oh, God. They also referenced making a push to talk type service, and this would be that, right? So you could have basically an audio channel open all the time, and when people want to say something, they can, otherwise they're quiet. But they referenced it being like Clubhouse, and then some code was found, I think, over the last 24 hours that Discord seems to be making their own as well. I mean, what Discord does right now, Discord's audio channels, not too far away from Clubhouse, but just kind of changing some of the UI to make it a bit more Clubhousey. Clubhouse is going to go away soon. It can't survive this. Honestly, I just don't think it can survive this. This was the thing. Like, people were saying this isn't an original thought, but like Clubhouse is a feature, not an app. So
yeah,
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the LinkedIn version, though.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I don't even know what you call it, but yeah, it sounds great, right?
They're gonna call it like the boardroom or something.
Oh, they really should, though. Or even just water cooler. Right? All of these things will work. If anything, if they don't give it a good brand name now, I'll be really upset because we've just given them two great ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Koshiaki, I'm sorry, just butchered this user's name in the Relay FM members Discord, has created a Notion database of the results of Ricky's. I think Koshiaki is his surname. We're going to go with Majd, who's in the Discord right now, so I apologize listening live for the butchering of the name. Now, this is very, very cool because what this Notion database is doing is it's not just saying who won. Like, that's great. We have that. My favorite part of this is they have scored our predictions and our percentages of being correct.
Wow. He uses mathematics.
Yes. And I am cleaning up, baby. Kind of.
How so?
All right, so this is including the 2020 predictions and then from the WWDC 2020 Rickies onwards. So we've got like 4 events and one annual prediction thing in here. And it's got all of our winnings and everything in there, which is really cool. But then when we look at the second chart, we've got like hosts, and we have each of us and our regular pick rate, flexi pick rate, Ricky pick rate. So of regular picks, 66% of mine are typically correct. Federico, you get 50%, and Steven gets 75%. So of our regular picks, our round 1 and round 2 picks, that's our likelihood of getting those correct. With flexies, I'm 11.5%, you're 6.8%, and Steven is 7%. At Ricky's, I am 50%. So 50% of the time, my Ricky is correct, and both you and Steven are 33%. So that puts us in... Oh, I'm not cleaning up, actually. I come second. So Steven gets 47% of picks correct. I get 45% of all picks. This is the regular picks and Ricky's and Flexies all together. And you get 34%. Your passion is bringing you down, my friend.
Well, I first of all, I don't understand how you can be 33% correct. You're either correct or you're not.
Okay, well...
33% correct.
Right.
Second, I feel like this is a grand scheme organized by Majd and Steven and you.
Oh, this is a conspiracy.
To confuse the hearts of the people with mathematics and numbers. When people think of the Rickies, they think of passion. They think of our relationship, of our, fighting over the picks. They don't think of these numbers. They don't think of these formulas. I feel like Majd is in this conspiracy. Somehow you have convinced a member of our Discord to participate in this scheme of yours. Majd, it's not too late to come clean.
Right.
If you want to confess, I'm willing to forgive you. That's all I'm going to say.
If people want to see the data for themselves, there'll be a link in the show notes.
Are you going to look at this? Bunch of numbers, a bunch of percentages?
What's it going to tell you, huh?
What's it going to...
There's no passion percentage.
No, cold, hard numbers? what are you gonna do with them? Come on.
Nothing, probably.
I do appreciate though the little figurines.
Yeah, they're good.
Those are really good. And also, this is a very good use of Notion. So thank you, Majd.
Except for all of the lies.
Except for the for the conspiracy. But I mean, technically,
everything else.
I am praising you.
Yeah.
But on a personal level, I'm really disappointed that you were convinced by Stephen and Michael.
Well, there you go.
This. It's too bad.
Beta 6 of iOS 14.5 just came out before we started recording today. We don't really know of anything new in it, except for the fact that you're now going to be given the choice of Siri voices. So when you set up a phone, we assume from new, but I wouldn't be surprised if it pops up as part of the upgrade process to 14.5. It's rather than it just defaulting to one or the other, you'll now make the decision. Because in different territories, it makes a default. So in America, it's defaults to female, and in the UK, defaults to male. And so now you'll be able to choose. And there are some new voices too. So I don't know if the voices are, because I haven't set this up yet, I don't know if the voices are gendered or if they're just named. If they're gendered, I don't understand why they would need to do that. They could just name the voices and you can just choose.
So I'm looking at it now.
Okay, you've got it in front of you.
They are not gendered anymore.
That's great. That's fantastic. So yeah, as well, Niles in the chat is saying you either choose voice 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Voice 1, it's 4. It says voice 1, 2, 3.
I like that. They're not gendering it anymore. They're just giving voice choices for you to make, which I think is great because then you can just choose whichever one appeals to you the most.
Yeah, I think it's the right option. Like the whole male and female. I for a long time I wondered why. Like I wonder if anybody ever did some kind of study or some kind of demo on gender neutral voices. Like, is it possible to build a gender neutral voice? Curious to know if there's any research done on this topic. I think this is the right approach. Now it just has the accent, which is not even called accent, it's called variety, and you just choose a number. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is nice. I want to try the Italian voice because supposedly the Italian voice also receive. You know what? Actually, hold on a second. I want to see what happens if I switch voices. It's not gendered. Even if you don't have the fancy new voices, which is English only, even the older ones don't have the genders anymore. So they're completely gone. That's cool. The Italian voice supposedly, and also Russian and French maybe, they received the new neural TTS voice, which uses machine learning to enhance the quality of the voice and the response to make the tone sound more human and natural. That was exclusive to English, I think. Was launched last year. Apple had a white paper on it too, and now it's available in the Italian Siri as well. Too bad you still cannot have multiple languages in Siri. So you still got to choose one language at a time. And obviously this is not the case with the Echo, which lets you use multiple, and also the Google Assistant, I think. But still, this is nice of Apple to do this. I think it's a good change.
It's a positive changes. Again, you can shake off some of this stuff because you don't need it, and it can actually allow for simplification. And why not go for that? And then more people feel included or not excluded. There's no harm in doing that, right? These are easy changes to make for the potential benefit that they could have for other people. So it's super cool. Last time we spoke about light mode and dark mode, and 3 of us worked out that we were all across the spectrum of what devices we use, which are light and which are dark, right? So Stephen, in his wisdom, created a Google form which he shared on Twitter last week with our audience to see what do you all select with your devices for light mode and dark mode. And I have some very interesting results to share with you. So 1,559 people, Federico, took the connected mode survey to say if they're going to be light or dark mode. And basically all of this is surprising to me. So the iPhone, we got 11.8% of iPhone users that were responded to the survey said that they use light mode all the time. 11.8%. Much lower than I expected. 42.9% of iPhone users who took the survey said they use dark mode all the time. And 45.3% go with automatic switching. Now remind me, you're light mode all the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're in a strong minority now. 11.8%.
Strong minority. Interesting. Okay.
iPad. 19% of iPad users light mode. 39.9% dark mode. And 41.1% automatic switching. So ultimately the same answers, but slightly different percentages. It's really surprising to me that the iPad has significantly more light mode users than the iPhone. So the iPad is 19% and the iPhone is 11.8%. That's just, that's very surprising to me, right? I wouldn't have expected that. So, and then we have with the Macintosh, 30.2% use automatic switching, 33.3% use light mode, and 36.5% of Mac users use dark mode. This is the most surprising out of all of these to me. I wouldn't have expected the majority of Mac users in our survey to be using dark mode. Because, I don't know, I feel like dark mode is like on the Mac by a lot of longer time Mac users kind of looked down upon. Because it's like, oh, this is not how the Mac should look. But there we go. These are our results.
This is not what I was expecting.
No. I would say the dark mode across the board is much higher than I would have expected compared to how light mode came in. I would have thought there would be more of a split between light mode and dark mode than there is on iOS products. So the iPhone and the iPad, like it's way more dark mode than it is light mode, and then most people tend to be using the automatic switching between them, which kind of feels to me that adding dark mode to iOS was a good thing, because it shows that like 90% of iPhone and iPad users want to have dark mode by this statistic, right? Because 40% of them choose to turn it on all the time, and then another 40% of them want it at certain points. So you're definitely in the minority by keeping one of your devices in light mode all the time. So what we have learned is people like dark mode.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the takeaway here.
36%
on the Mac. I guess it makes the iPad is even more surprising to me. Almost basically 40% of iPad users have dark mode on all the time. It's even more surprising to me than the iPhone, the iPad number. The Mac, I would have expected to be that kind of percentage, because again, I think it makes more sense on the Mac where you have like these pro apps that already use dark UIs. But on the iPad, interesting. Okay. So people use dark mode. That's the main takeaway.
That's the big takeaway from today, is that people use and love dark mode.
So you are a man of the people indeed.
You know what? I really am, aren't I?
It's you. It's always been you, not Steven. It's been you all along. The things we discover when Steven is not around, right?
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Storyworth. It's definitely been the year of getting creative when it comes to staying in touch with family. I know we've had a lot more FaceTime calls, a lot more Skype calls than we ever have before. It's never been more important to stay in touch with everyone in my life, and 2020 just made it hard. Storyworth, however, can make you feel closer to loved ones no matter the distance. It's an online service that helps you and your loved ones share stories through thought-provoking questions about their memories and personal thoughts. It's a fun new way to engage with family, especially those you can't see in person. Every week, Storyworth emails your family member different story prompts, questions you've never thought to ask. Things like, has your life turned out differently than you imagined it would? Or what would you have changed your mind about over the years, or if you knew something earlier than you did. Really thoughtful questions. And I love those questions. Sometimes those questions are hard to ask in person or over FaceTime. Storyworth gives you a little breathing room in those questions, and it's been a great way to bond with family. After 1 year, Storyworth will compile all of your stories, including photos, into a beautiful keepsake book that's shipped for free. This is a book that can totally become this like family heirloom. You can give it to your kids. They can learn about their great-grandparents or people they've never met. Give your loved ones the gift of spending time together wherever you live with Storyworth. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/connected, and you'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/connected for $10 off. Our thanks to Storyworth for their support of the show and Relay FM.
Today, Apple kind of announced, or was announced for them, basically, that they're one of the leading investors in a $50 million investment round in a company called United Masters. United Masters is a music-focused company that aims to help independent artists get started in the music business. They work with them to get them up and going. They're basically a label, but they make sure that the artists keep the rights to their recording masters. And then they help them work out deals with brands. They help them understand social media, provide marketing support, connect them with their audiences better, help them sell concert tickets, merch, and stuff like that. I'd never heard of this company, that I was kind of doing a bit of research about them today. They sound really good. Like, as a thing for music. Like, had you ever heard of United Masters before?
First time today.
So they've been around since 2017. It was started by somebody called Steve Stout, who used to work at Sony. They worked in music at Sony, and since then, since the founding, I've been bringing on more artists, and they've been doing some interesting stuff. Like in August 2020, they struck a deal with TikTok, so TikTok artists could distribute their original songs through other streaming platforms. So they seem to basically try and find ways to connect emerging musicians with existing platforms. And I'm sure, look, they make money across the way, right? But they're not making money by doing things like existing record labels have done by saying, we own your music, right? Which is if you follow Taylor Swift's saga, right? Like, this is a thing.
Looking at the partnership list now, I vaguely remember when Twitch creators made a big deal out of the fact that they could use more music in their streams, and this was possible
they had
because
the whole
in
DMCA
September 2020,
thing.
United Masters partnered with Twitch to basically allow creators to use licensed music in their streams. So I was not aware of that it was United Masters. Okay, well, this is a cool company.
So they sound like a super interesting company. It kind of sounds like this is how you would make a record label today, right? I think that's kind of what they're going for.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, obviously they make their money, right? But they're probably taking cuts and stuff like that. And I bet it's kind of like one of those approaches of scale, like they bring on a bunch of artists and every now and then one of them breaks through and they make a bunch of money from it. Now, what's interesting here is Apple didn't buy this company. It's a strategic partnership, and Alphabet, Google, is also one of the large investors in this investment round. I think with Andreessen Horowitz, they led the round. But Apple is working on what is called a strategic partnership with them. This is interesting. I mean, from talking to you recently, this is not the kind of stuff that you're looking for from Apple Music.
No, but it's different kind of stuff that is also important, I think. Like Apple first of all, I think Apple as an investor is fascinating. Joining with other companies to invest rather than to purchase, to acquire another company. It's pretty cool.
This feels like a non-cynical political move from them.
Right.
Saying like, this is how we believe the music industry should be.
Yes,
right?
Which is exactly why this may not be like a fancy new feature of Apple Music, but I think it's something important because going forward, like something we've seen during the pandemic is like a lot of artists struggling to, well, obviously make money, right? Because of, we already know how artists were really making money more off merchandise and concerts.
Well, it's because it's the only way they could make money.
It's the only way they could. I mean, if you're Taylor Swift or Beyonce, like you make money also from Spotify streams and Apple Music streams. But most artists make money off of selling their most loyal fans merchandise, exclusive editions, deluxe editions, all that kind of stuff. And what we've seen during the pandemic was there was a lot of uncertainty at first, but especially over the past 6 months, I have noticed that a lot of artists have basically started doing all the same thing, but each on a different platform, which is streaming concerts, right? Selling virtual tickets to these concerts, and investing even more on merchandise, doing things like what are they called, graphic novels, for example. In the past month, I've seen 3 different bands do a graphic novel. So all of these folks are trying different ways to monetize their audience, to monetize their most loyal fans. And that was a byproduct of, obviously, the lack of touring and the lack of being able to do concerts. But I think it speaks to the bigger point of there has to be an easier way to do this. Or at least it would be nicer. I mean, let's not even talk about the thing that some artists are now doing with selling albums as NFTs. Right?
But it seems like the NFTs things is big artists and not small artists, and it's a marketing tactic. I feel from the ones that I've seen anyway, like the Kings of Leon did it.
Exactly. I also think Lindsay Lohan did an NFT thing. I think at least I've seen it on Twitter. So the thing is, I feel like it would be interesting to see some kind of centralized way for artists to do this. Like, it's not ideal that if I want to watch the streamed concert for Jimmy Eat World, that I gotta purchase a virtual ticket for. I gotta sign up for a specific Jimmy Eat World platform and create an account and do all that. And then if I want to do the same for the main or for Blink 182, like I gotta repeat the same steps over and over again.
And I don't know if about you, but like I've done a couple of these things like over the pandemic, and it's a real crapshoot as to what the streaming platform's going to be like.
Yes, performance is not great. Some of those videos you cannot re-download. They use custom video players. You can't
pause them.
You can't pause them. Like, it's not great, man. It's not really. But at the same time, I empathize with artists, right? Because, like, what you gotta do? You gotta find ways to make money. And to live off your art right now. And so I support them because it's the right thing to do. But I feel like I've been saying for the past few years how there has to be, I wrote about this in the context of Apple Music, but it applies to other companies as well. The original idea behind Apple Music Connect was not that bad. It was just poorly realized, and Apple didn't really spend enough time building it. But I feel like the underlying idea of what if an artist had a much better way to directly connect with their audience. The problem is Apple did it in a way that they kind of wanted to do like their own Instagram, but for music artists, which was the wrong approach. The right approach is allow artists to build something that resembles a mailing list, right? Give them a way to sell stuff, whether it's limited edition, whether it's a virtual ticket or a physical ticket when we can go back to having concerts. Like, give them a direct way to reach their audience and to sell stuff easily in a trusted environment with a simple payment system. If you want to sell video, you have a native video player. You have all of these features that the platform takes care of for you. You just connect to your audience. And I feel like they tried this to an extent. Like, I wrote about it a couple of years ago when they did it with Billie Eilish. They had like this special page in Apple Music that allowed you to go to a website and use Apple Pay to purchase the Billie Eilish merchandise. And I still have that Billie Eilish t-shirt that I bought, which is sick. I love it.
But like, to go back to the point that we were making earlier, is like, That is an exact example of what you shouldn't do. Is that they bent over backwards to
exactly
give just to Billie Eilish and then never do it again.
Exactly. So this partnership with this kind of company is interesting. I would love to see more of this. Like beyond the individual features that, I may appreciate more these days in Spotify rather than Apple Music. I do think that Apple understands this. And they must have seen like the struggle of artists over the past 12 months, because the pandemic has completely changed the way that how the music industry operates. And the consequences of this, I mean, it's pretty bad in Italy right now. I think it's pretty bad everywhere, honestly, but like right now, what we keep hearing here is how the industry that's been impacted the most, even more than the artists themselves, are the people who work behind the scenes, right? The people who work in like the staff and the engineers and the people who operate behind the scenes in theaters, at concerts locations. Like that, unfortunately, cannot be fixed.
Yeah, because
it's all digital.
The
right?
man like who is putting up the rigging, or the person who is serving food, or like the woman who's managing the ticket sales, like they can't go on social media and make money.
Yep.
Right? Like they have no other path there to like continue to make a living, So it's like, it's bad for the artist, but all of the support around that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tricky. I mean, and there are some steps. Like, did you see Glastonbury? See what Glastonbury's doing?
No.
So they're not doing the festival, but they are setting up all of the stages, or like a selection of the stages, and they're bringing the artists in, and they're doing
amazing.
a digital concert. So you can buy a Glastonbury ticket, but it's just to watch a performance.
Yeah.
But they're doing it at Glastonbury.
I love it. See, I mean, folks are figuring things out despite the situation. And I feel like when it comes to music streaming services, there should be a way for artists to do this directly in the app that you use. I mean, let's face it, I shouldn't have to sign up for the Jimmy Eat World newsletter so that I know when they're selling a virtual ticket, and sign up and create an account and use their crappy video player and repeat the same process over and over for Liam Gallagher, and then for the main, and then for, a bunch of different, like, I'm going to do it, but it shouldn't have to be this way.
By the way, the Glastonbury lineup looks pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
For me, anyway. Coldplay, Damon Albarn, and Haim are the headliners.
Perfect. I love it. Okay.
I mean, like, I'm just in.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah. Can I give you my money for that?
The other thing, though, that I think is important for thinking about companies like United Masters and whatever, is if the music industry wants to continue in having labels, they have to do things like this, because stuff like Patreon and YouTube and TikTok means that a lot of artists do not need labels anymore, right? Like, you can get money directly, and you can get yourself out there in a way that was impossible to do even 15 years ago. So really the only way for this industry to continue being useful, at least in the kind of like early stages of somebody's career, is they have to be incentivized that everyone comes out of it winning. Because otherwise, you're only labels are only going to get involved when someone gets huge. And outside of that, they're not going to be able to find their own artists and even strike deals that are... They're not going to have any leverage, right? Because if somebody's massive already, someone's got like 10 million YouTube subscribers or whatever, and they're getting millions and millions of views, they're coming to the table with a lot more leverage. So, unless the labels will start to create more equitable relationships earlier on, they're just, that part of the industry is just going to go away, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's especially interesting when you consider how what you mentioned about how some artists are doing their own membership programs, really, to monetize an audience. Like, for example, I personally subscribe to William Ryan Key on Patreon. He's the former singer of the band Yellow Card, and he's now doing his solo project. And it's fascinating because you can subscribe to William Ryan Key, and you get a bunch of things that you like. Until a few years ago, I wouldn't have even imagined that I would be able to do a Q&A session like each month with the singer of Yellow Card, or you get, for example, like the digital PDF of the handwritten lyrics of a song. Like you get a bunch of these things that, I mean, yeah, it's super cool. Like if I'm a super fan, I'm gonna give you money and you give me this like things that make me feel special, like that make me appreciate the fact that I'm following you as an artist, and at the same time I'm feeling good about giving you money because I'm supporting your art and your craft. Like totally, like that is an amazing idea. And so if you're a label, you got to consider this fact that more and more artists are saying, you know what, I may not be able to go on tour anymore, at least right now, but we're gonna figure things out on our own, and we're gonna monitor, and we're gonna find ways to reach audiences, whether it's YouTube or Patreon, or like I saw somebody, was it the main? No, it was somebody else saying they have a Discord server, and like they're using technology and they're taking control of these things on their own, without necessarily having the official support of a label. And I think it's amazing. It's incredible.
TickTick. So we spoke about TickTick last time because Stephen had moved to TickTick and was selling us on it, and we were both pretty intrigued about TickTick, and we both had some time to try it out. I will say, just for full disclosure, after hearing the episode, somebody at TickTick reached out and gave us all 1-year subscriptions.
I didn't use it.
I did, so thank you, TickTick. Federico did not use it. I just wanted to say that up front. So I have been digging around a little bit, and I haven't spent the amount of time with TickTick that I would maybe want to, but I feel like I might be bumping up against an issue that... So I've been using OmniFocus for most of this year. Actually, over a year, nearly. About a year. Sorry, that was terrible the way I said that. About a year is how long I've been using OmniFocus for. And the thing that made me move was you were using OmniFocus at the time. When
Yes.
You and Sylvia were working on the new perspective icons. And the thing that I really liked was the idea of assigning multiple tags to one task. Because something that I was starting to struggle with was my work was starting to span across multiple areas, and I was struggling with Todoist, find a place to put tasks, because Todoist is a projects-based, like kind of first model. And what I like about OmniFocus is it is very flexible in that you can create projects or tasks, but then also just create perspectives that lumps them all together. And ultimately, where I settled on is I don't use projects anymore. All of the tasks that I put into OmniFocus get tags, and they can have as many tags as I want put on them. And then I have a set of perspectives which group together the tags that I want. So, like, for example, if I was doing something for this show, say it was preparing for the episode, I might have like 2 tags on it, maybe one that says show prep and one which says connected, and then I can have a perspective which is just connected, which would include this task and any other task which is tagged with connected, but there could be any other task attached to them. Where if I was doing this as a project, I would have to choose a bucket to put them in. So it might be either show prep project or the connected project, but then all I'm going to see when I go into those views are just the things in that project. And so I've been enjoying, if that makes sense. And it's a bit complicated, I think, unless you're working like me. But what I like about the way that I set things up with OmniFocus is every task can have lots of different tags, and those tags can then show up in other views in the application. And I feel like TickTick is definitely more of a projects-focused app, which they call lists, right? So I would set up a bunch of lists, and I can put tags on them, but the tags are very much like really one word. You know, like you can't have any spaces, you can't have any emoji. It doesn't like any of that. And so really, for me to want to move to this, I have to be completely blown away by the other parts of the application to the point that I'm willing to rebuild my system. again, or like adapt my system again. And I've done it so many times and I kind of just get used to it. But I would say that so far the app hasn't really grabbed me in usage to want to dive in. Like, there's some really nice features in it. Like, I stumbled across a whole template feature that it has. So you could create like a packing list template and just save it in the app and just bring it up whenever you wanted it. And that's like a really great feature. And so I want to spend more time kicking the tires of the application, honestly, because there is a bunch of cool stuff in there. Like all the stuff that Steven was talking about. I really like that you can have like just lots of lovely notes, really nicely formatted. I really hate, it's one of the things I hate about OmniFocus is it doesn't have nice formatting in the notes, right? Like I want markdown in the notes field of the tasks, right? And you don't get that in OmniFocus. I had that in Todoist and I could get it here. So what I'll say is, so far I have spent, I don't know, like 45 minutes to an hour just in the application setting some basic stuff up. And I haven't been as blown away in using it as the way Stephen was describing it, which is maybe suggesting to me that I actually have to start putting some data in it and try using it for what it's supposed to be, and then maybe I will start to fall in love with it in the way that Stephen has. But I am getting stuck on the fact that I would need to come up with a new system again, when really what I want to do is have tags formatted however I want, and then create some smart lists to bring those tags together, which you can do. You can create smart lists. I haven't worked out how you do this yet, but their kind of like web page and how you create smart lists seems to indicate you can create smart lists based on multiple tags. But then I don't like the way that tags are formatted. So for example, if I wanted to have a tag that said podcast recording, it would have to be all one word, and I kind of don't like that. So I'm getting a little stuck on some of the features, or basically I'm getting stuck on some of the fundamentals before I'm getting the opportunity to really try out the features. But that's kind of one of the things about these types of applications is they've all got to mix and kind of fit with your system and or the way that you approach this stuff. And I'm just not sure that this one has yet.
Right. Yeah, I tried it out for like a couple of hours last week, and I was immediately turned off by the custom UI. That's why I asked Steven last week, does it feel like you're using a web app? Does it feel like you're using a custom thing on iOS? And I got that feeling like even more than what I expected based on Steven's answer. And it was a bunch of things, and I found the sort of this mix of a bunch of functionalities. Sure, you can disable them, but I didn't get a great feeling out of, thinking, oh, this company is doing both a task manager and a calendar client and a Pomodoro timer and a habit tracker all in one. Like, I don't know. It doesn't strike me as a focused product. I don't know. Maybe it's just my personal feeling, but I go with my gut feelings a lot here for this kind of stuff, because I try so many, and this is not like a humble brag. No, it's like it's my job, and I try so many apps on a weekly basis. If I didn't go with my gut feeling at this point, I would go, I would lose not just my hours of my time, but also my mental sanity. So it's more of the first impression matters a lot for me these days, and TickTick doesn't make a great first impression, at least based on the kind of user I am, I guess. Maybe Steven doesn't care about that stuff, maybe you don't care about that stuff, and that's fine. Really, it's fine, but it's not the kind of
nice user experiences, right? Like, for example, I really like the way that OmniFocus looks and works on iOS. I bump with it quite a lot on the Mac. Like, I really don't like the Mac app. I've kind of grown to just suffer it. But I what I don't like about OmniFocus on iOS is the task entry system. But I built a really good shortcut that I love, and nice. I never want to enter tasks in a to-do app without being able to create a shortcut for it. Because on the home screen now, I just have a shortcut, I hit it, and it just pops down with a UI. I type in my task, pick a date, and I'm done. Like, and assign a tag. Like, it's so easy, and I love that. So I never enter tasks in OmniFocus in the application. I just enter them from the shortcut that I made. And so any app that I ever move to now, I want to be able to create a similar thing for. But most of the ones that I've tried out seems fine to do. So you're still using Good Task then, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's interesting, because whenever I have looked at it, I did try it for a bit. I feel like there are parts of the UI of that app that are really difficult for me to understand. Like, especially the quick actions part, which I know you really like.
Oh man, those are amazing.
It's like, when I look at it, it kind of feels like there was a UI explosion and now there's just pieces like littered everywhere.
I get it. Yes, it's not. It's the iCab of task managers,
Oh my God, that's perfect. Yes, it's got everything, but because it has everything.
But it's got, like, that's the difference. It's not that it's got everything the way the TickTick has everything. It's got all the possible settings for two features. Like for a task manager, not even. I mean, it's not even a calendar client. You can see events, but it's not a calendar client. It's got all the potential options you will ever want to configure for a task manager. And yes, it could be better. And sometimes you come across a typo in the UI, which I'm willing to forgive because the developer is based in Korea. So I mean, it's fine. Typos are not that important. It's the overall experience that matters to me. And I feel like a Good Task, I love because it's like this little playground, especially since the developer added the customizable quick actions. It's got a steep learning curve, that's for sure. But it's the combination of complete user control and native UI elements that got me, right? It's that idea of, here you go, you have all of these native UI tools. Nothing is custom. Like, it's all native UI kit. These custom lists and context menus and text fields, all of that stuff is native UI, behaves the way you expect it to. So whether you're using touch or, a pointer on your iPad, it works the way you know. But you also have complete control over this thing. And you can build, John has some really wild actions, actually even more complex than mine, I think, where he's doing things like cleaning up the title and auto tagging stuff. He's got like this amazing follow-up action that when he sends an email to somebody and he knows he's going to follow up with that person in a few days, it's got this action that auto creates a follow-up task for him. And I'm like, that's incredible. My quick actions are pretty simple. Like, I have actions to apply tags and to postpone tasks by a certain number of days. But like, it's the idea of having complete control and essentially building your own custom interface using native UI elements that I really appreciate. Plus, the Good Task is one of those apps that it feels like your patience is rewarded over time, and it pays off to learn and spend a few hours like looking at this UI explosion, as you called it, like this sea of settings that you have. And it pays off over time, because now, for example, I have this custom dashboard view that I set up months ago and I never touched it again, which is a Kanban board set up the way I like it, so that I can see, I see a column for Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday and then the rest of the week.
Can I do what I want? Can I assign multiple tags to a task?
Yeah.
Well, I'll download this one again then.
I mean, what you got to keep in mind is that Good Task is a reminders client, right? So when you say tags, technically, behind the scenes, the way that it applies quote-unquote tags is by putting hashtags into the note field of a reminder. Meaning, in Good Task, they behave like tags. If you open the Reminders app, you will see hashtag, research in the note field of a reminder.
Plan to ever open the Reminders app.
That's what I do. I don't know. I never opened it.
I don't know why you would. Like, I don't know why you would use Good Task and then ever open Reminders. You've chosen Good Task, right? It's like, I use OmniFocus. I don't open Reminders. Like, and I know that the reason you're mentioning that is because Good Task is somehow using Reminders to make its app. I guess, is this kind of like in the way... Does it have access to Reminders like in the way that Fantastical can access my iOS calendars?
Yes, it's that API.
It's an API. Okay.
It's the EventKit API, which has been around forever.
Right.
If anything, the Good Task developer does something that the Fantastical doesn't do, I think, which is, I'm gonna make this easy to explain on a podcast. So you know how in Reminders they added rich links?
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago? So if you save a web page from Safari to Reminders, it gets the little visual preview of the link. Well, that rich link apparently is using like a private API. It's not the native URL field of the reminder, which means that if you save a reminder with a rich link in Safari, you don't see the link in Fantastical, I think. But the Good Task developer figured this out, and so you can see the rich links in Good Task too. The thing you do not get, because it's not exposed in the Reminders API, are native Reminders subtasks. So if you create nested reminders in the Reminders app, which is a feature that not everybody knows about, but you can create subtasks, like subtasks in Reminders. Those subtasks will not show up in Good Task or Fantastical for that matter. But Good Task lets you create your own custom subtasks. So the developer figured out a way, but it's a custom thing. So that's, I think, the only limitation when it comes to like...
but again...
you cannot, I guess, you cannot assign reminders to other people, which is also a native reminders only functionality.
Yeah, but again, it's like I'm not gonna use them both, right? I'm not gonna use Reminders and Good Task. I'm sure people do, but I wouldn't. Like I'm gonna choose one or the other. Well, all right. Well, I've got another one to try out then. I guess 2 apps to try. Yep. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm still back at OmniFocus, but who knows? I'm always looking for new things. And it is because I like what I can do with OmniFocus more than I like OmniFocus. You know?
Like, that's a really good way to put it. I would pay serious money, but like serious money, for an OmniFocus that looked and behaved like things.
Oh my God, don't even. Don't even.
Right? I know, right? I mean, imagine that. Yeah.
If Spotify wants to buy this podcast, we could pool our money to buy Culture Code and the Omni Group and smush them together.
It's like now kiss, you know the meme?
Yes.
I don't know. What will happen first? OmniFocus looks like things, or things gains advanced features like OmniFocus?
Neither of those things are going to happen. Nope. You have to like, which one is going to get closer? And honestly, at this point, I'm more likely to believe OmniFocus to get a new UI that is nice to like across everything than for things to change its underlying structure, because I feel like OmniFocus has taken more of those steps than things has. Like genuinely, like OmniFocus on the iPhone, I like it. Like it's got some stuff that I would want to change, but it's gotten better, where I feel like things has gotten more beautiful, but is still dealing with these like fundamentally weird, bad issues.
They still have that thing with the repeating tasks.
Yeah, that you can only check them off on the day that they're set to repeat on.
And it's still not fixed.
They have acknowledged that it is something that needs to be fixed, but haven't done it.
Yeah,
and that's
this is like
I don't get it.
Yeah, this is like I acknowledged 2 years ago that I needed to work out more. It's like, yeah, I acknowledged it.
What more do you want?
But the thing is, things looks really nice, and every time I look at it, and then I remember how you can swipe down to open search. It's got all those fancy things, and it's beautiful.
Yep. I use it once or twice a month, and every time because I have, whenever I post an episode of Cortex, I have a shortcut that throws a list of like 30 items into things. Right, because
I remember you explaining this to me. Yes,
because I don't want these tasks in OmniFocus, because now I have 30 random tasks in OmniFocus, and I just have one task in OmniFocus which I check off, which is post Cortex. But then there is a list of tiny tasks that I want to make sure I've done correct, which is a list that just seems to keep growing over time, and it's to make sure that I post everything just right, because it's much more complicated than my other shows, and I only really do it once every 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever. So I want to make sure I get it just right. So I have a shortcut that has a list of tasks that all get put in things, and they've all got headers and all that stuff. And it's just so beautiful and so satisfying.
It is a satisfying app, yes.
I just really wished that it worked the way I work, and it just doesn't. But
like it wouldn't need, like, it really wouldn't need much. Like,
no.
Two things that I would really appreciate would be the repeating task fix and the rich link previews. Which, by the way, I wanted to clarify, the rich links are an open API. It's the link presentation framework, and every developer can use it. It's just that the way the reminders implements it, I think it's not exposed by default in the EventKit framework. But yeah, things with repeating tasks that you can check off whenever, and rich links instead of raw URLs, and I would probably consider it again, because it's got everything else, right?
Yeah, it could do with some tidying up. Like there's too many containers for tasks, you know.
Oh yeah, the areas. Yeah. I never fully understood.
I think they tidy some of that up. I think they also could do with just some general refinement into just adding due dates and stuff. I think they're trying to be a little bit too clever about the way that...
Don't you have due dates and things?
You do, but like, you know, there's like the whole like today and like someday, like just, you know...
someday, like the someday I don't understand. Like, what is someday?
Just delete the task. You're never going to do it.
Or don't put a date, like keeping in your notes app or whatever. Like, it's not I don't know, tasks for me are things I'm going to do on a specific day. And I know that, like, you and I think similarly of this. Like, each task has a date.
Yeah,
otherwise,
because
it's not a task.
It's just an idea.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
You can change the date, but just set a date. I do not enter a task. Like, I don't understand inbox. You know?
Ooh,
like
I never
people that use the inbox. Just add a date. You've already added it in. Just add a date. Change the date if you want to. But like the idea of just like throwing things into an inbox and then going to them later and adding a date to them, it just doesn't work for me. And I know like it works for people. I know so many people that work this way. I just can't fathom it. Like, how much longer does it take to add just any date? Just like set it for next week or something. So, like whatever.
I have a theory.
Okay.
I wonder if the whole inbox thing, and if you think about it, at least a good portion of the whole GTD methodology around the inbox, I wonder if the inbox was merely a byproduct of old technology like limitations at the time.
Federico, all of this is a byproduct of physical note cards.
But like when task managers, like when they, when the physical note cards became became digital task managers. I wonder if the inbox stuck around because it was not possible at the time to have, for example, features like extensions, saving your tasks into a specific project, or into, like, it wasn't possible to have a share extension with a list picker, or it wasn't possible to have a digital assistant with support for saving your task into a specific list. And so developers came up with this approach where it's really simple. You just create a task and it goes into this inbox, and then you got to open the app later and process your inbox.
But like inbox in software, though, it's been in OmniFocus forever. That predates any type of iPhone or anything.
Yeah.
I just think it's just a case of like following that methodology, the GTD methodology, too closely.
But again, let's riff off the connected episode that we did about this. If the task manager didn't exist today, and if you're like, if Myke Hurley is inventing the very first task manager in 2021 with the technology available right now, does the inbox exist?
No.
Right?
Just put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Even if you're not going to put a date on it, put it somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I fundamentally think that the inbox is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Remember, we said at the start of the show, the best way to send in feedback for this episode is to go to relay.fm/connected, and there's a button which says to contact us, and it sends an email. That is 100% categorically the very best way to send your opinions to us.
Yeah, Steven loves it.
Because Steven will love it. He can't wait.
If you think about it, like, if you have something in your brain, like you're keeping something in your brain for something that you gotta do, you always associate that something with an area of your life, right? You don't have in your brain this gray area of the inbox. Like, what is the equivalent of the inbox in your brain? You either you have things that you gotta do at home or at the office. You have things that you gotta do for your family. Right? Each of the things that you gotta do has an association with an area of your life or a time of your day, right? You don't have that sort of unlabeled area of, oh, there's something I need to do, but I don't exactly know why I'm doing it. It's like, what would be the equivalent of an inbox being in your brain?
There
Nothing.
Isn't one. And I know, like, people say, like, it's just so you can quickly enter stuff. It doesn't take that much time to add any other type of information to these tasks, right?
Yes.
Like, it really doesn't. It's like, look, we're saying that we love dates, but even if you don't add dates, even if you add a tag or a project, like, it's not that much more mental energy. Like, how quickly do you need to get these ideas out? Like, I couldn't even possibly wait for a second longer.
I now need to sit down and enter a date. I mean, it's not a job. It takes like 2 seconds. Everything has got natural language now and input.
But again, if you do this and you're thinking that we're wild, I mean, not only should you send us the email feedback as requested, just understand that, like, we're talking here about, like, how our brains perceive this type of stuff.
I mean, look. It's the two of us, and we got to do a show. And at some point, we got to be controversial about something, right? Otherwise, why would you even listen? I mean, if you listen to... I mean, nobody likes when you're like, I listen to this podcast and I agree with them all the time.
Yeah,
it's like, then just talk to yourself or something. Like, I don't know. At some point, you got to have the spice in it, You got to have something spicy, and this is the spice. The inbox is the spice, so...
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Privacy.com. Look, we've all done the thing where we buy something online from a website and you're like, I'm going to give you my credit card number, but I am scared to do so. Well, Privacy is a tool that makes it easy to manage your financial life online while keeping your most important information secure. See, it generates virtual numbers that mask your bank information, so you never have to worry about giving it out to people that you don't know online. We've all been through the situation where your debit card or credit card number is stolen. Maybe they've spent a bunch of money on it. You've got to work all that out with your bank. It's a real pain. My wife and I have gone through this several times over the years, and Privacy.com means that you're protected from that type of activity while you shop online. So take back control of your payments, decide who can charge your card, how much and how often, and you can close a card at any time. Plus, you can make sure you're never accidentally billed twice or upgraded to another service without your consent. Privacy.com is partnered with our friends over at 1Password, so you can create, use, and save privacy cards directly within the 1Password application. Cards created in 1Password have the same security benefits as other privacy cards. So you can set spending limits, create single-use or merchant lock cards whenever you want. So head over to privacy.com/connected to sign up for an account. New customers will automatically get $5 to spend on their first purchase. That's privacy.com/connected, $5 for your first purchase after you sign up. Our thanks to Privacy and their support of this show and Relay FM.
WWDC 2021. It's happening June 7 to 11 in it's online.
Isn't 7-Eleven like a thing?
Yeah, it's like a convenience store, right? But I don't think that's got anything to do with it. I wouldn't read too much into that. There's a lot of stuff to read into that. I don't think this is one of those things.
Okay.
So, as expected, I mean, obviously this one was announced a bit later than normal because there is no need to do anything. It feels kind of strange to me. Like WWDC was announced, and I was like, okay, and I added it to my calendar and did nothing else. I'm still not used to that because usually WWDC gets announced, and then me and you need to get on the phone together, and we need to start booking. You know, it's like it doesn't happen anymore.
All online, doing that.
All online. It's okay. This definitely isn't ever going to happen again, but we'll have other events that we can go to together.
Wait, what? No, don't say that.
My theory, I don't think, look, we can get to this another time. I don't think that it's coming back to in person. But June 7 to 11, all online. Susan Prescott, who is the new Vice President of Worldwide Developer Relations and Enterprise and Education Marketing, by the way, huge job title. So Susan Prescott just took over developer relations. I think this was a story that was reported on recently. But I think Prescott had other tasks and they've just mushed them together. So Susan Prescott is the Vice President of Worldwide Developer Relations and Enterprise and Education Marketing. Susan said, "We are working to make WWDC 21 our biggest and best yet and are excited to offer Apple developers new tools to support them as they create apps that change the way we live, work, and play." I just want to give you one of my little things as to why I think there is a possibility of no WWDC in the future. There is not a word in this press release which is talking about in person. There is no words about like, well, we can't be together this year. None of that, right? All it talks about is how successful last year's was and how this one's going to be bigger and better. So anyway, this is not a conversation for today.
It was my favorite time of the year. It's like they took Christmas away from me.
Well, nobody's taken anything away from you yet.
No, you're saying that they're never gonna have a physical WWDC again. And that would be horrible.
Well, at most it will be, I think, severely shrunken down because they want to look, because the online stuff has gone so well, and they seem to be suggesting they are going to be doing more this year for the online stuff.
Right.
Considering the response that they keep getting to it, I think it's difficult to then be like, you remember how we spoke about it being the most inclusive? Now we're going back to, this is only good if you can be here. I think it's going to be tricky. I don't know how they're going to get back from it, and that's what I think. But we'll find out. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about other things. So the developer app has been updated as well. It's got some new functionality. It looks like it's better on iPad. I'm sure you're happy about that.
Yep.
Like put the look what the sidebar is in there.
Sidebar.
Nice.
It shows you more stuff on the homepage. It's really nice.
The artwork, I enjoyed it very much because it's the Federico meme of the MacBook.
Yes.
But all right, everyone's talking about the fact that they're all wearing glasses, so you kind of can't avoid the AR glasses thing from this. And you got to be sure that whoever designed this artwork knew that this would be a thing, right? Like, there's a whole other conversation as to whether Apple actually do bother to theme this stuff. But you know, if you're going down this route, if every single one of the Memoji in all of the variations are all wearing glasses. Like, I know it's to show the what they're showing with the artwork, which is applications reflecting off of them, but nevertheless, everyone's now going to talk about, like, is this going to be the year where they show off AR glasses? Do you think that at WWDC 2021 we get anything about Apple's AR products?
Well, I don't think we get the glasses.
It's definitely not glasses, right? Because what we know is first is a headset. But a headset is clearly the precursor. And I think even when Apple talk about the headset, I think they will talk about it as a first step in this, like, thing, right? I feel like it's going to be spoken about as, like, here is the first product we're doing in this idea or whatever. They're not going to say, oh, and we're going to have glasses in a couple of years' time, I would assume. But I could imagine them, whenever they do start talking about this stuff, start talking about it as like a new technology that they're working on. But do you think we would get anything?
I don't think we'll get any. Oh, this will age poorly, I'm sure. I don't think we'll get any hardware at WWDC. I think we'll get a new version of ARKit. I could see Apple doing something more on the software side with something like a dedicated AR app on your iPhone. Like, I could see Apple maybe in the future split up the App Store and have a dedicated AR App Store that is just for AR experiences. I could see that sort of stuff. I would be skeptical about it because we've seen how those separate app stores have gone with the watch and with the iMessage app store. But
I think they can only do something like that if they're saying, because we have this product launching later on in the year.
Yeah, but also, is the headset ready? That's the question.
Well, but it could be 6 months away and it'll be fine.
So you're thinking they could do a preview at WWDC?
Well, no, so here's what I'm going to say. I think they will do a preview, but I do not think it's a WWDC. I think they're going to have a separate event like they did for the Apple Watch. That's what I think they're going to do. Like,
I think they should do that. I think it should be it's going to be the first product in a new category of devices, and I think it shouldn't be part of WWDC.
I know why you would, like, or why people suggest it, because obviously they're going to need developer buy-in.
Exactly.
But you can do that at any point, right? As long as you give them a 6 to 8 month, like, lead time, right?
I guess what's kind of strange is when they did the transition to Apple Silicon, they explained to developers exactly what was going to happen to the software platform. Now, hardware initially wasn't mentioned. And then the following year, they did the developer transition kit. But in this case, how much can you explain to developers about the software platform without explicitly saying, oh, there's going to be a headset?
But I think
how much can you?
The only reason they don't talk about hardware is when they have other hardware that is going to be killed by the new hardware, right? Like the Apple Watch, they showed off the Apple Watch hardware 6 months before. Did the same with the iPhone, same with the iPad. Like they could show off, if they have a product that they're launching later on in the year and they want to show you the developer kit, they'll show you the hardware. Like, this is what we're working on. But I think that's not, personally, I just think they're not going to do it at WWDC. I think they will do it before or after. But I think that they will want to give it its own stage, I think.
I mean, personally, I even wonder if they're going to do it this year at all.
I don't know.
Because if the headset is not launching until 2022, I guess it depends on how long a lead time you want to have for
Depends
developers.
how complicated it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the dates of June 7 to 11, I assume they make you feel better from the reviewing standpoint.
Yes. Back to an early June schedule. Makes me feel a lot better compared to last year when WWDC started on June 22. So yeah, I feel a lot better. It's also nice because it gives me like this deadline for all the things that we're doing at Mac Stories. Now we know that when we have to be ready with those things.
Because you're doing some stuff that you want to all be done before WWDC, right?
I want to make sure that it launches before WWDC. Yes, for sure.
Well, I guess for your work split, it has to, right? Because once WWDC starts, you're in review mode, so you
exactly
can't be working on anything else.
Well, the things that we are doing, I will have to adjust. Let's say my presence over. Like I will not be able to fully disappear again. But that's like a thing that I wanted to do anyway. So I'm feeling a lot better, and especially given like last year was weird and difficult in a lot of ways for me throughout the whole summer, and it took me. I haven't really talked about it publicly, but like it took me months to recover from those things. And I'm feeling like now, if you see my name, my byline more often on Mac Stories, it's because I'm feeling a lot better. And it's because I'm feeling the itch to write again, finally, and to try stuff. But last year, especially the second half, and going up until a few weeks ago was super weird and, challenging. But now I'm feeling very good about these dates, and I am thinking that given the dates, given my current mood, I don't want to wait a month until the new version of iOS has released to publish my review. Like I kind of want. I know that we talked about this before, and I said, "Oh, it's nice that I published whenever I wanted to publish, and people still paid attention."
No, I mean, I kind of ignored everything you were saying and knew that you would, if given the chance, would publish on review on launch day if you could.
You knew I was going to change my mind. Yeah,
because it is the best time to do it. You had a great success with it, but you were always going to. But if you could choose between launch day or not, you would always choose launch day.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So that's your plan then, right? Your plan will be start on June 8 or June 7 and publish in September, whatever, when iOS comes out.
Yeah. I think so. I already talked about it with Sylvia. This thing obviously affects like our plans in the summer, but who knows what our plans this summer will be. We don't even know if we will be able to get vaccinated before September. So who knows? But I like the idea of going back to, start working on the review June 12 and publish 3 months later in mid-September. Because now I also, like last year, taught me a very important lesson that no matter what, not even a pandemic stopped Apple from releasing a new version of iOS in mid-September. So if the pandemic didn't stop him last year, it's never going to stop him again. So I know this thing is launching in September. They don't care. Like, remember last year, they released the GM version of iOS the day before the public launch. And everybody was upset. But that taught me how it doesn't matter how close they are cutting it to their mid-September deadline, they are going to do it. And therefore, it means my deadline is in mid-September. And it's not changing. So I think I can make it happen. I think I can go back to the usual schedule of a few years ago. And also, I didn't really like stretching my work all the way to October. That extra month of work was also responsible for my problems. I didn't really like it. I mean, it was necessary, but
it's too
3
long.
months.
You're working for too long.
4 months is too long. 3 months is enough.
Yeah, because up until WWDC was just a lot of fratting and trying to get ready, right?
Yeah.
And so you're in the mode. But this time having it start earlier, I mean, I'm happy that it's starting earlier. It's just going to be a better flow through the year. It's the flow that I'm used to. It's the flow we're all used to. We built, everything's built around it being this process, and so I'm happy about it. I know, like already, I'm like, okay, so I know during WWDC week this year, I'm going to move everything, because last year I didn't. I tried to keep my regular schedule and add WWDC on top of it, which is a nightmare. So for me personally, it's, obviously I'm not dealing with anything like you are, but like we've done this once, So we're ready to do it again, I feel like. So pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. It brings back that sense of normalcy, you know? At least for me, to go to see WWDC in early June, and now there's a rumor of a spring event, and then it's WWDC time, and then I know it's coming out in September. I like it, even though things are not normal, especially over here in Italy. They're not normal right now.
No.
But at least this thing is something that makes me feel it's familiar, and so it feels nice.
Do you think there's going to be an event?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, we were talking about 14.5 earlier. I don't think that that's coming out until there's new products, and I think that they will have an event to show them off. So you've been working on a 14.5 story, haven't you?
Yes, I have this beautiful 7,000 words about iOS 14.5 and iPadOS, of course. Probably going to be a little more, given that I got to cover the Siri changes. But yeah, it's sort of like a nice mini review of a new version of iOS. It's like a chapter from a full iOS review. And there's going to be lots of screenshots, lots of images, lots of comparisons between before and after, the whole thing. It was fun to write that kind of in-depth story again. So I will take the extra time to edit it. Beta 6 came out today, so I know that I told you John Voorhees has been teasing me these past few days. He's been threatening me with the idea of iOS 14.5 is going to come out tomorrow morning and you're not ready.
More like one true meanie.
Yes. But no, it's the fact that we got beta 6 today makes me feel good about the rest of the week, which means that I can take the next few days editing the story, taking screenshots, and then if it comes out Monday, I should be fine. But I don't think it will come out Monday.
I think that does it, Federico.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, if you would like to get in touch with us, don't forget, relay.fm/connected. And you can send an email there. While you're there, you can also sign up for Connected Pro, which is longer, ad-free episodes of Connected every single week. If you'd like to find Federico online, go to macstories.net, and he is at Viticci, Viticci. I am at iMyke, IMYKE. And Steven is at ISMH on Twitter. But don't forget, he loves email.
I am going to ask you a question, Mike.
Oh, great. Keeping up with the tradition.
Because the last time Steve wasn't here, I flipped the roles and I asked you the question. So I think, let's say, I wanna ask you something about your job.
Oh.
My question for you, Mike, is, if you could change one thing about your job, what would it be?
I feel like I have too many things on my calendar. So
what kind of things?
Well, it's either lots of recordings in the same intervals or lots of meetings and stuff. And so sometimes I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh man, look how much stuff is on this calendar. I think I would like to have more kind of unstructured time in my calendar. I think that's the biggest thing that I would like. To have fewer things that are all going to happen at set times. I think I would prefer that. A little bit less kind of rigid structure in my calendar, because even though it's not like an overabundance of things, it's not like I'm back-to-back meetings all the time constantly, but having all of those things there feel like I have too much mental load rather than actual time load. And I just think that's just like a thing that I've been trying to think about recently as to how I could change that to reduce the amount of stuff that I have on my calendar.
Steven, you hear that? Your boy wants fewer Zoom calls.
To be fair, we're actually pretty good on each other with that. Me and Steven only have one call on Mondays,
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And then everything else is just dealt with via text and Slack.
Yeah.
But we have our Monday morning stand-up, as it's called.
So fancy.
And then that usually dovetails into recording either backstage or Ungeniused as well. So like every couple of weeks we'll do one of those, but then every other, like, and then the off weeks it's just that meeting. But I would like less stuff on my calendar. That's what I would change if I could.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Connected. Until next time, say goodbye, Federico.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Before you go, it's me, your friend Steven again. I'm not on the show this week, but I want to tell you about another show on Relay that I think you're really going to enjoy, and that's Top 4. Tiff and Marco can make a top 4 list out of anything. If you just look through the archives of this show, they have ranked some amazing things, like different brands of bottle of water and hot and cold Starbucks drinks and lettuces. It's not all food, but the food ones are my favorite. It is delightful and infuriating all at the same time. So you can check it out at relay.fm/top4 or search for Top 4 wherever you get your podcast. And I'll see you next week.